So today on Mark Cooks and Eats Things, what we're trying to make is lamb Rogan Josh, which is a curried lamb. We're serving this with basmati rice, and one of my specialties, something I invented entirely myself, is a rhubarb achar. So what we have here is the mise en place for this. This is actually a pretty simple recipe we put together. We're going to start off here. I've got some ghee already melting in the Dutch oven on the stove. I've got some cinnamon sticks. I've got some green cardamom and some black cardamom pods that I've lightly bruised already, though I did bust one of the pods all the way open. But anyways, we're going to get these going first, just to kind of season the ghee in the pan. And then we're going to take the onions and we're going to caramelize them. We're going to let them go for about probably 10 minutes or so, and then the lamb's going to go in. So the lamb has time to brown up. And once all that happens, we're going to move into the spice blend. Now the spice blend for this is, well, there's quite a bit of stuff in it, but most of it you can find readily in the grocery store. We've got paprika, chili powder. Now in this case it's Kashmiri chili powder, not North American chili powder. North American chili powder is actually a spice blend. It's savory, it's not hot, it's meant to accent chili. Indian chili powder is literally dried red chilies that have been powdered. It's spicy. It's where the heat comes from in your curry. For a mild curry, stay down to 1 teaspoon. For a really hot curry, go as far as 3 teaspoons of the curry powder. It's got coriander and cumin, turmeric powder, nutmeg, garam masala, and some fennel powder. So I've got some cut up tomatoes and some chicken broth. In my case, I like using the chicken broth with a bit of white wine added to it. It just adds an extra layer to stuff. But the first step is to get the cinnamon and the cardamom pods starting to roast. So we'll get that done now. All right, my friends. So in the Dutch oven here, we got the cardamom pods. We've got some cinnamon. We've got some whole allspice berries. The recipe actually calls for cloves, but I'm actually allergic to cloves. They make my throat shut up. So I go for allspice berries to replace them. The flavor's close enough. So I've had a time for these to kind of roast a little bit. The ghee, and in goes the onion now. Now we're going to want these onions to caramelize a bit. So again, we're going to keep moving, keep things going. It's probably going to take, just caramelizing onions, let's be honest here, it's going to take 15 or 20 minutes. But about the halfway point, about the 10-minute mark, I'm going to add the lamb into it. So that'll give time for the lamb to kind of brown up a little bit before we start adding the wet ingredients to the curry. So we'll come back in about 10 minutes and we'll see where we're at with all this. Hey my friends, how you doing? So we've had the onions cooking for about 5 minutes now. They've taken on a bit of color, and now I've added all the lamb in. Like I said, I bought the lamb on special. It was 50% off. So I got about 2 kilograms of lamb for about, I think it was like $17 plus tax. Which is pretty good for lamb, at least here where I live. So we're going to let this cook now for about another 10 minutes or so. That'll give the time for the onions to caramelize and for the lamb to brown up a little bit before we add in the spices and the wet ingredients. So come back in 10 minutes. We'll check in. And we're back, my friends. So it's been about 10 minutes now. The meat's been in there. Set some time to get some brown on it. And now I want to start adding some of the other layers of flavors. We're going to throw in 3 healthy tablespoons of ginger garlic paste. Now look, I admit I could make this stuff myself. It's just equal parts ginger, garlic, and some water. But really, you find the stuff in every Indian grocery store that you've ever been in, and probably your local stores probably have it on the shelf as well. I don't really feel a need to reinvent the wheel every time. So a little ginger garlic paste. This is going to be in for just about a minute. It doesn't need that long. Everything's cut so fine and pureed. It's just to add that flavor and allow that ginger and garlic to to cook a little bit and bloom a little bit. So I actually want 4 tablespoons. I really like a lot of ginger and a lot of garlic. And I find that most times when you're looking at recipes, they tend to tone down the spices in it for, well, what they say, a North American audience, because we don't tend to like really strong flavored stuff. But I tend to not agree with that, and I prefer things really heavily spiced. So anytime they call for a tablespoon, I use a big, huge, rounded tablespoon. And then I taste the spice blend, and if I think it's missing something, I add more. So just about a minute of this. Then we're going in with the actual spice blend that we put together. Again, we want this to basically cook for a little bit in here. So we want these spices to bloom up. We want them to get on some flavors, and even time to flavor the meat before the wet ingredients go in. So, another quick stir. I really wish we had smell-o-vision. This smells amazing already. In with all the spices. We want to make sure we get this all mixed in really well. We get the meat really well covered with everything. We really want this to give the lamb all those flavors. Oh, look how beautiful this looks already. We're going to give that about 30 seconds or so. And then we're going to start going in with the wet ingredients, which is a little bit of diced tomato. Anytime a recipe calls for tomato and cooking, or tomato puree, or tomato sauce, I just buy some Roma tomatoes and dice them up. Tomato puree, I don't do anything to it. Tomato sauce, add a little bit of water to it and mix it up a little bit in advance. But generally speaking, the flavor of using fresh tomatoes, and especially Roma tomatoes which were made for cooking, is just so much better in a sauce. So much better in any kind of cooking. So this is going to go in next. Like I say, give this a little bit of a, look at the color of this already. Oh, beautiful. And the smells, oh my dear. So we get that going. In with some Roma tomatoes. In this case, it's 3 Roma tomatoes that I bought. These will break down as it cooks. We're going to give this again, maybe 1 more minute or so. Let those tomatoes start heating up and breaking down. And then last but not least, we've got 1½ cups of chicken broth. Again, this is store-bought broth. I didn't have any made in my fridge, so I bought store-bought. This is Campbell's chicken broth with some white wine, because the added layers of flavor that white wine will bring into it. Not a lot, but it's a little bit. And we're trying to layer the flavors into this. We really want it to taste interesting and complicated and fantastic. So, chicken broth is going to go in. We're going to bring it back up to a simmer. Leave it at a simmer for 2 hours. When it's ready, you should be able to pull out a piece of this lamb, and with 2 forks, just basically shred it apart. It should be so tender. And that's really how you're going to tell when this is cooked. Is when is the lamb so tender you can just shred it with a couple of forks. At that point, we're going to add a little bit of yogurt, a little bit more garam masala to kind of really punch those flavors out. And then we're going to serve it over basmati rice. Basmati, there we go. We're going to serve it over basmati rice. Simple, easy, really. It doesn't take any effort to make this. It's a few steps, but they're all easy, and there's very little chopping involved. So in goes the chicken broth now. And then we're going to put a lid on this, let it sit at a low simmer for a couple of hours. Oh, the smell off this already is just unbelievable. Look at that. Huh? Is that not picture perfect? Is that not picture perfect? That is picture perfect. Anyways, we'll come back in about 2 hours and see how our Rogan Josh is doing. Hey, so we've now had the Rogan Josh going for long enough that I'm pretty sure the lamb is ready. But let's check it to be sure. So we're going to pull a piece of the lamb out of this. I want to find a piece that's a pretty good size. There we go. And now the meat part of it. I want to see, can I, with a fork, can I just pull it apart? And I can. It comes apart actually pretty easily. There's not a lot of force involved in this. So I know that the lamb is now cooked far enough through. It's softened all the way up. Oh, wow. It's really, really good. So, we're not done cooking it yet though. It's going to go for about another half an hour. Now, we're going to add yogurt. This is, sorry. Wow, that's really good. This is Greek yogurt. We're going to add this in. Now, yogurt will actually separate if you're not careful. So we don't want to add all this in at a time. This is 3/4 cup of yogurt. We're going to add a little bit. We're going to stir it in. Make sure it's well incorporated. There we go. You can see how creamy already that sauce is going because of the yogurt going in. We're going to add some more yogurt in. We're going to take our time. We're going to stir that in as well. Wow, this smells fantastic already. Some more yogurt again. And now, up to this point in time, we've been cooking this with the lid on. We're going to leave the lid off now for this last 30 minutes. It'll help this sauce to thicken. Let's get all the last part of that yogurt in there if we can. So there we go. We're going to leave this now for about another 30 minutes. Hey, my friends. So, the Rogan Josh is done. So take a look at this. This is the lamb. It's been cooking for 3 hours altogether. It's like melt in your mouth kind of stuff. Get a little bit of basmati rice to go with it. So, when summer rolls around, we'll talk about this again. This is an Indian pickle, known as achar, but it's my own thing. It's rhubarb achar. I figured out a way to Indian pickle rhubarb, and we'll talk about this in the summer. But this, along with the lamb, oh my goodness! If you find lamb stew meat on special, this is a great way to do it. Super simple, super easy. You'd swear you were in a fine Indian restaurant. Basmati rice, lamb, Rogan Josh, and my homemade rhubarb achar. Talk to you soon. Thanks, my friends.